really to be able to pontificate about different large events.
Don't
What?
ever say pontificate. Don't
What?
don't. Now that we're saying we're writers, I'll pontificate, proliferate, pretentious, poignant, just these p words are so pretentious. See what I'm saying? All right, anyways, what were you saying about your p word?
I can't. I have difficulty. I
Did
have
I just bully
difficulty
you out of a
writing.
word? I'm so sorry.
Da 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 da.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ramble, episode 47. And I'm your host, Austin. This is your other host,
Richard?
This is a very peculiar and very different and very vulnerable video for me. So we kind of just threw this idea out there, and it stuck on the wall, and we went with it. We're part of a writing group, and 1 week in the writing group, I was given this prompt. I don't think you were there that week, but there's a prompt, and this podcast, I'm going to be sharing a 2-page, really short story based on the prompt, and get Richard's reaction, see what you all at home think, and just share a bit of my writing. And why not?
Yeah, why
And
not?
if they like this kind of stuff, I'd love to hear a story from you. And so please
I could
comment
write
below.
something.
Exactly. And
Be
so
fun.
please, if you guys like this kind of style, this new form of content we're trying out, let us know, because Richard will do something as well.
Yep.
Right?
Also, be sure to check out our Patreon if you want to continue supporting us, doing book club, our movie watch party, and possibly maybe some writing stuff in the future like this.
Absolutely. So I guess we're just gonna start with this.
Let's go right into it.
This was the prompt. It was, your character has to walk into a magical forest. Okay?
Okay.
So that's the prompt, and here's the little short story I wrote. The world has seen the likes of many great men. Sam was not one of them. Sam was neither great, nor was she a man. Well, technically, she wasn't a she either. Sam was a tree. You see, Sam was a kind tree, the kindest if you asked her. She let the nymphs nuzzle on her soft red velvety bark. She allowed centaurs to graze upon her delicious huckleberries that bloomed from her leaves in the winter. She even allowed the ogres to sleep by her trunk. No tree in the forest let the ogres so close to their precious sap. But Sam did, because Sam was a kind tree. But remember, she wasn't a great tree. Great trees grew tall and spread wide. Great trees protected little critters from the many suns. Great trees sheltered fairies from the violent winds. Sam couldn't be a great tree. Sure, she was nuzzled by nymphs and grazed by centaurs. Sure, even the ogres were thankful for her shade, while the other trees denied them. But that didn't make Sam great. That made her kind. A great tree could be nuzzled by hundreds, grazed by thousands, and have enough ogres underneath their canopy to fill a lake. All trees were that large, but Sam was not. Sam was a pebble surrounded by mountains. Those mountains grew tall, with trunks the width of cities and leaves the lengths of elephants. But Sam, she was different. Sure, she could fit a nymph or two, a centaur or 4, or maybe a pair of ogres, but her trunk, it was the size of a pond. Her leaves, barely the size of a head. If it wasn't for her parents, whose trunks stood miles beside her and canopies completely covered her, she would be dead. But her lovely parents kept the area where she stood lit by the sun, an endless forest of darkness, but she was the light. So, no, Sam was not great. She could never be great. But then, Billy arrived. Sam had heard of these humans before. She thought it to be a rumor, but no, there he was, Billy. She knew it was his name because of her magical connection to the world. Or maybe it was the fact that the kid said, "Hi, my name's Billy," when he arrived. Regardless, she was aghast to see one of these humans in real life. Billy had the beauty of a nymph, the dexterity of a centaur, and the rotten stench of an ogre. Though she didn't mention that to Billy. "What's your name?" Billy asked. Sam shook her leaves in response, a sign of caution. Sam would not be swayed by this majestic human. She had heard all the rumors, including the ones of these humans burning the land, torching her kin, and, worst of all, stealing their precious sap. "It's okay," Billy said. "I don't bite." A trickster he was. That must be it. After all, Sam was small and not so great. That's why the human must have came to her. Sam caused her roots to ripple, knocking the little boy onto his back. Billy giggled. Curses. Ha! That was fun. Billy stood up and brushed the dirt off of his little blue jeans. Again! Curses. Billy taunted her majesticness. She needed to show him her true power. Sam shook her branches, causing several of her leaves to fall onto Billy, including her special leaves. Billy, of course, pranced around the leaves as if they were harmless snowflakes. How did that fail? Sam thought. When her special leaves fell to the ground, an awful aroma plagued the forest for miles. No nymph or centaur, ogre or fairy could survive such a stench, but Billy, he thrived in it. Billy nudged up to her trunk and hugged her. Sam reverberated the ground in response. Ooh, ah, Billy smiled. Billy even survived her greatest defense. It was useless. No wonder the humans were able to terrorize her kin. Sam was hopeless, defeated. She surrendered. Mr. Billy, Sam spoke. Please don't take my sap. I'm a kind tree, I swear it. Billy, still hugging her, looked baffled. Miss Tree, I don't want your sap. You don't? No, silly. Then why have you come? Billy sat down onto the grass. He looked up with a twinkle in his eyes. Well, for a magical forest, this sure hasn't been all too fun. He twirled around in the grass as he spoke. The trees are so large, the branches so high and mighty, there's nowhere to play. Billy looked down and frowned, but quickly looked back up again with a grin. But that was until I found you. You're awesome. A few of Sam's leaves dropped uncontrollably. Her trunk shuddered. You think I'm awesome? Billy started climbing Sam, using all of her branches. All of her perfect branches perfectly within reach. Yeah, Billy giggled as he finally made it to the top. He rested on a nook between the branches. I think you're great. Story over. So what do you think? This is a very new content. That was strange reading and not
Really opening yourself up.
Opening myself up. So yeah, that's a short story that we did in one of the writing groups. So
okay,
a story about a talking tree and a boy named Billy.
I wonder how many intended euphemisms were there for the tree named Sam, the female tree named Sam, and that was the thing I was curious about.
Actually none. Did I
okay.
Was that bad?
No, I was just thinking about all the tree named Sam didn't want Billy to steal her precious sap. I just thought sap was something.
That was part
I don't know.
You know what? That's where our minds go, because that to me was world building. I'm like, oh, the sap's precious, and I'm trying to create this little world.
See, but that's my question was
yeah,
it's weird.
That was the first thing.
And then crawling using every one of her limbs and branches. I was like, it was weird.
None of that was intended.
See, this is maybe my problem is
Yeah.
I'm anthropomorphizing a tree, and that's probably not what I should be doing.
No, it was just supposed to be a fairy tale type story.
Yeah.
A little thing, but that
with the leaves dropping and the
Yeah.
vent, and that's clearly kind of a mystical thing.
Yeah, I was trying to add the leaves had a little magical power and something like that. But okay, that was interesting to talk for I don't know however long that was without anything from you. But the short story wise, I mean, what'd you think of the story?
I thought it was definitely interesting. What I would have added was a more hint of humans in the beginning, because it definitely felt like two separate stories, and it felt too separated, where the tree and kind of the difference of the great tree and then Sam, and then the human kind of popped in at the end. I think it would have been interesting to hint at the humans' interactions with the other fairies and the trees in the beginning, and hint at their danger, and then go to Billy.
Okay, so hint at humans with the centaurs and the ogres and whatnot, and then
mainly hint at the danger that humans have and that Sam doesn't know.
Okay,
Sam's heard the rumors, but say that stuff in the beginning. So then when Billy comes, it's been set up that humans are dangerous.
Okay, because instead it was Billy showed up, and then you find out humans are dangerous. I see what you're saying. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Well, nice. Now, what do we think? Short stories in general. I mean, these kind of writing prompts in the writers group that we would all split into groups, write the story, and then share them with each other. This is obviously the very the shorter form of like a novella or a shorter story, like even episodes that are only 15 minutes long and are all self-contained. The story's done, and you don't have to read further, and you can digest it all without having to click on the next episode. There's something special about it, you know?
Well, the great thing about art is art requires boundaries.
Yeah.
Any kind of art form that there's no boundaries to it, that it's endless, typically sucks. That's why
Why'd you look at me and say sucks like that? You emphasize, sucks. Like you said it so loud. Like I think you lowered yourself into the mic and stared at me when you said that. That was pure. All right, go on.
But it just makes me think of limitless art normally sucks.
Okay.
But when you put boundaries on it, when you have a clear guidelines and rules and hard limitations, it normally fosters really great creativity. So that's why I really love Emperor's Soul. I would consider Discworld. A lot of them are more not short stories, but short books.
Shorter stories, right?
Shorter stories.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And they have to be fairly self-contained.
Yeah.
I think it just leads to a more cohesive thought. So often writers who are writing a series can mainly get most of the big points done, but they have a couple ideas that are not fully formed yet, but they just throw them in there because like, hey, I'm going to handle that in book 2 or book 3. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to throw it in there. So like even Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time in the first book, he's playing with some ideas. There's some stuff in there that he later had to kind of retcon, go back and rechange. But he was playing with some ideas. They weren't fully formed. Where something like a single book, a single short story, everything has to be a completed, well thought out plot point or anything.
Right. And you get so much time to refine a shorter story so it can come out that much better. So like you say, with the shorter books, you've said this in past videos, I really agree with. If you, let's say your whole story is a paragraph, every word's going to be so particular, and you could refine each and every single word so it's the perfect paragraph. Whereas then the longer you get and the more drawn out, the harder it is to make everything as best as it could be. Obviously, right? So
it's one of the reasons why I look at Name of the Wind. The one positive I can say about the book is it is polished like a short story. Like just prose wise.
It's that good.
Prose wise, definitely.
Yeah.
It's polished like it was maybe 50 pages. A 50-page story. That's how well it's polished.
Wow.
And so that's why it's impressive.
Yeah.
Where something like I'm trying to think. I think of one of the other short stories like 1984.
Yeah.
It's a fairly short book.
Is it that short?
I don't think
I haven't read it since
I think it's
high
maybe
school.
only 200 pages.
Okay.
250. It can be well polished. Where a Sanderson book, Stormlight, is like 400,000 words. You're not going to polish that.
I'm now curious. 1984 page count. Let's see if you were right. 328.
A little longer.
A little longer still. I mean, compared to fantasy books, you're
Yeah.
right. Fantasy is particular that a lot of fantasy books are very lengthy.
Yeah.
So and they kind of have to be because you're creating a new world. So you need all that extra page count to get the person involved in the magic, the world, the new storyline going on. So there's an extra element. Also, fantasy writers, I think, have a level of when you're talking about your world and this thing that's in your head, you can go on and on and on and keep saying the cool stuff you got to put down on page. So when Sanderson's going on for 400,000 words, I'm here for it. I'm very much here for it. Do you think there's any flaw to having just a short story? Are there any negatives to it?
No, I actually don't think there's any negatives to it.
Wow.
It depends on
Zero.
depends on execution. I mean, if you're trying to do an epic fantasy in a short story, it depends on your technique.
Fair enough, right?
I mean, in all honesty, you can do it. It just means that you narrow your focus. Don't tell the main character's story. You can have an epic fantasy idea in your head, and then when you tell your short story, you're following the POV of a small side character. Maybe there's this grand campaign, military campaign, and that's the main story. Your short story, and you come up with that all in your head. But then your short story is based on the cook following the company along. And it's just a
Neat.
little short story where the battle's going on in the background
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
cook's in the back.
Yeah.
And he's coming up with his next meal to feed the soldiers. And he's thinking about, hey, how are they doing? Hey, they're being really wounded. I'm probably going to have to really cook the meat extra long so it's nice and soft for them because a lot of them are not going to have teeth. So you could tell a
Nice.
short story of that focus if you
Yeah.
wanted to. So
I
no,
really like that.
there's nothing wrong. There's no negatives to a short story. It just depends on execution.
Nice. Okay. And would you say the same for longer stories? There can be no negatives there.
Disagree,
So-
actually.
Okay.
I think long form stories actually do have the flaw of mainly it's more of a risk of people to ramble
Ah, yeah.
and go off on stuff that's not fully fleshed out.
Okay, gives more room for error.
Exactly.
Essentially more room for error. That makes sense to me. Okay. And I also know a lot of Pixar, they have those little mini short stories in
Yeah.
between movies. I always love seeing those. Those are so cool. But man, I guess if anyone's still listening at this point, we can get more personal on the level of both of us. I mean, if they're this far in the video, come
Yeah,
on now.
why
But
not?
we're both, we really want to publish a book. That's a goal of yours.
Yeah.
It's my top goal. It's one of your goals.
It is.
And we're trying to push each other to get that. So the podcast, this is why stories are so much fun to talk about, is it kind of stems from that. Oh, we eventually want to write something. We don't have anything published. We're working on it, and we're not at that level. So we're just those assholes that, pretentiously go, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this.
Yeah, we get to critique without actually being
showing up and showing our
involved,
work.
yeah.
So hopefully one day we will be able to. And not hopefully, I will. I'll have a book eventually, whether it's self-published or published. And I hope, that's your goal, right? That's one of your
Yeah.
goals.
Though for me, a difficult thing for me to write is really to be able to pontificate about different large events.
Don't
what?
ever say pontificate. Don't. Now that we're saying we're writers, I'll pontificate, proliferate, pretentious, poignant, just these P words are so pretentious. See what I'm saying? All right, anyways, what were you saying about your P word?
I can't. I have difficulty. I have
Did I just bully
difficulty
you out of a
writing.
word? I'm so sorry.
I have difficulty writing extended sequences of world building.
Gotcha.
Like I can come up with the idea, but I was listening to
Yeah.
your story and I found it was like you were able to kind of go into the world and like give lots of examples and fine detail, and I have significant trouble doing that myself.
Because you think they're all euphemisms. Maybe that's why. But that's funny you say that, because one of my biggest problems too is world building. I have a tough time. I don't have as big of imagination, I think is what the problem is. So I have to really find things and go from there.
Gotta read more, man.
See, it always comes back to that.
Gotta read
Damn
more.
you. Damn you.
I'm right though.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's got to keep up with the reading and writing and everything. So, so a shorter video on today.
I guess so.
Shorter video, but I'm really curious to see if the audience, if any of you like this kind of writing content, maybe. Did you enjoy today's video?
In all honesty, what would be kind of neat is DM us one of your own short stories. We'll try and read through them.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll read one on the podcast and talk
Exactly.
about it.
But Rich, did you enjoy this kind of style, or
I did.
you did? Okay.
Yeah.
After the camera's off, you can tell me you didn't. It's fine. Like, I hated my time here. I didn't talk enough.
Oh, I
All
talk plenty in all the other videos.
That's fair enough. All right. And lastly, sorry to mention this again, but we're really taking the Discord book club, movie club seriously. So if you guys are interested in that, if not, again, just please give this video a like. That's completely free. And we appreciate all of your support.
All right.
So-
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye,
Bye,
y'all.
everybody. See you next week.